Good morning, and welcome to the Annisquam Village Church. I am so delighted to be here with you. My name is Reverend Sue, and we gather today to celebrate someone who has left a legacy of love and her family in this community and in this church. And so know that the church community, we wrap our arms around you. Even when someone has lived a good long life and there is much to celebrate, we also recognize that for all of you, you've had her your whole life. And so the loss is deeply felt. If you have children today, and it comes a point and you think, we might need to be someplace else, know that downstairs in our co-room is a very comfortable place to sit, and there are books and games. There are also some in the corner if you need that. The bathrooms as well are downstairs, so if you need that, you are also more than welcome. And finally, as pastor here and with my associate, Reverend Elizabeth, we've really had a season of loss in this church community and in the village. And we want to let you know that we are available should you ever need some support, if you wish to talk. We are here for the church and for the Annisquam community. So again, welcome. I am so delighted that Hazel's daughter, Reverend Wendy, is able to lead us as we celebrate her dear mother's life.
Mom was many things, but welcoming was right there on the top of the list, so I'm going to even welcome you further. And thank you so much, Reverend Sue. Thank you to the Annisquam Village Church. And welcome. Welcome into this place we make sacred by our coming together in celebration of life. A place in which we are blessed by the remembrance of a woman who lived quietly, loyally, generously, kindly, determined to greet each day, each person, each experience with positivity. This morning, we arrive in appreciation of Hazel Marie Lowe von Rosenvinge. Welcome to her children, Margot and Ted, who join me in honoring a mother who gifted us with an appreciation of learning, of earning, of noticing, of humility, determination, and hospitality. Welcome to our spouses, Rob, Linda, and Ginny, who came to know and love Hazel as she welcomed them into a family not all might consider an easy crowd. Welcome to Hazel's grandchildren, Marta, Shannon, Amanda, Sarah, Laurel, Samantha, Robin, Liz, and Michael, Robin, and James Willis, each of you who came to know your Graham and Nana as children and well into your adulthoods, such a gift. You who intrigued her with each step of your journeys. Welcome to your partners and spouses, too. You too, very so welcome in Hazel's head and heart. Welcome to those who knew her as Gigi. You may be hearing them from time to time, and it would delight her. Gordon and Oliver, Rayleigh, Stella, Peter, and Mason, Charlie, John, and Leona, Amelia, and young Hazel. And here in spirit, Hannah, Penny, and Jean. You for whom she held stashes of animal crackers, bubbles, and trains. And as you grew, interest in whatever interested you. Welcome to Hazel's nieces, nephews, and cousins, each arriving with shared love of family in the present, but also shared histories, rich stories, shared losses and joys. Welcome, friends, old and new. Welcome to all who arrive in celebration of the woman whose great love, Ted, called the best human being he had ever known. Today, we note the passing of a life, but at the same time, note the blessings offered by a woman who moved through this world, leaving it a better place, perhaps leaving each of us better in some manner, either because of who she was or in some moments who she was thriving to be. Bring her to mind now, won't you? Close your eyes if it helps. Walking on Lighthouse Beach or Crane's Beach with friends, deep in conversation, calling you to say, do you hear it, the night air? Knitting, leading a tour at Peabody Essex Museum or Cape Ann Museum, bringing brownies to the library tea. Ted following close behind with his eyes on the brownies. Watching with delight, perhaps, as one of her great-grandchildren discovered something new, reading a New Yorker, or talking with her band book group, or noting how the mature grasses in the pasture were laden with dew, laughing until she cried over some naughty humor or just being. Close your eyes, bring an image to mind now, and hold that image close in your heart as we gather now in celebration of her life. We know that death is inevitable. We know that if we are to enjoy the beauty of life, the majesty of the mountains, the wonder of a sunset, the kiss of the soft summer breeze on our cheek, the wonderment of a baby's first smile, the depth of passion in a lover's embrace, then we must also accept that suffering, pain, grief, sorrow, and death are part of our world. Just a bit over a month ago, death arrived, peacefully and with relief, but also leaving our worlds changed. We are left with unfinished conversations, an empty spot at holiday gatherings, the landscapes of our lives altered forever. We reach for a phone and remember. We hear a bird and a tear comes to our eye. The sound of the tree frogs and crickets lacks an appreciative ear. We mourn a loss of presence immeasurable but palpable throughout the day. But there is also opportunity. Just as death brings us face to face with our own mortality, it also serves to remind us of the importance and the beauty of each living moment. From this moment on, our living and doing can be intentionally more kind, more curious, more ethical, more forgiving, more loving. Life, even with death, is a miracle for which today we might remember to tend and nurture much more than just 5 weeks ago. And yet, even in the acceptance of death, we need comfort. It's good we're gathered here today, not to celebrate the victory of death, but to give thanks for the life of Hazel Marie Lowe von Rosenvinge.
Did little baby handoff. Did someone say that there would be an end? An end, oh, an end to love and mourning. Such voices speak when sleep and waking blend. The cold, bleak voices of the early morning, when all the birds are dumb in dark November. Remember and forget, forget, remember.
After the false night, warm, true voices wake, voice of the dead that touches the cold living. Through the pale sunlight, once more gravely speak. Tell me again, while the last leaves are falling, dear child, what has been once so interwoven cannot be raveled, nor the gift ungiven.
Now the dead move through all of us, still glowing, mother and child, lover and lover mated, are wound and bound together and unflowing. What has been plaited cannot be unplaited. Only the strands grow richer with each loss, and memory makes kings and queens of us.
Dark into the light, light into darkness spin. When all the birds have flown to some real haven, we who find shelter in the warmth within, listen and feel new, cherished, new, forgiven, as the lost human voices speak through us and blend our complex love, our mourning without end.
Won't you now rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our hymn, a favorite of Mom's, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." We hope you know the tune. The words are in the insert.
Good morning. If you hear something funny, I encourage you to laugh. I have a few thoughts and stories to share about my mother, Hazel, but I also want to take this moment to publicly acknowledge the devotion of my sister, Margot, sitting in seat 1A, and my sister, Wendy, showed to their mother during their lifetimes, and admirably during her final weeks. They were there continuously. A minister once advised me as I was helping my wife, Linda, raise her two boys, never underestimate the power of a good example. In that vein, I immediately think of my mother, Hazel. She was just that, a powerfully good example. And the hundreds, well, I don't know, certainly scores, we haven't even opened the ball yet, notes that came to us and letters underscore that as well. My father agreed. She was a good example. In fact, he used to proclaim with some regularity and conspicuously within Hazel's earshot, "Well, nobody's perfect, except maybe your mother." She was the antithesis of a helicopter parent, a good example for parents today, in my opinion. Her hands-off approach was, in hindsight, a gift to us children. As we each had the ball from an early age. Upon reflection on this some time ago, I asked her, "Mom, did you ever have to remind me to do my homework?" She said, "Teddy, I don't remember, but what I do remember is that your brother, Mark, never had any homework." She had a good sense of humor. I'm going to go off script briefly. Once she described to me seasickness, she said, "You think you're going to die, but you're afraid you won't." An early memory. I was at the young age, probably about 7, where a squirt gun had captured my little boy's lizard brain imagination, and I mercilessly nagged her to take me to the store to buy one. Her response? I would get a penny for each dandelion I pulled out. of the lawn. Well, that sounded easy, but with the onerous provision that they only count if I got the roots too. Well, I wanted the gun, so when I had enough roots converted to pennies, she took me to Woolworth's in Winchester, Mass. For the purchase. The unspoken lesson, kid, from Hazel was you have to earn it, and while you're at it, do a good job. The lesson stuck. Then there was a rare piece of advice, subtly disguised as a question. When I was 20 and debating whether or not to continue as a member of an up-and-coming rock and roll band, some of whose members are here today, or change course and go off to engineering school, she calmly said, you may want to think about when you are 30 and you have a baby crawling across your lap. Pretty graphic picture. I went to engineering school. On that topic, and I was surprised that Wendy put me in the humility group. She loved to keep me humble. She did a good job. Always, almost annually, she would remind me or torture me with what I said in high school after she saw my fairly high math SAT grade, kind of low in the verbal, and suggested that perhaps engineering might be a consideration. Apparently, I said I would rather be dead than be an engineer. Well, I'm not dead, and I'm an engineer. A master of understatement and economy of words. She was a great writer, and she was frequently correcting our grammar from the moment we were born. I'm sure Margot's nodding her head, Wendy. Not long after my future wife, Linda, was introduced to her, I knew I had her blessing, as one of Hazel's friends confided me to Hazel that Hazel told her they are well suited for each other. That was a ringing endorsement, no matter how indirect, and Linda and Hazel's relationship blossomed thereafter. And you may not know some of these tidbits. The rebel Hazel. Example number one. Reportedly, as I wasn't there, she was the first in Annisquam to wear a two-piece bathing suit. And here's another one. With cunning stealth, she hid her acceptance letter from Smith College, from her parents. Her older sisters went to Smith. She wanted to go to Cornell, not Smith. She went to Cornell. She never complained. I don't remember any harsh words, although I trust my brother Mark and I earned some. I do recall her addressing my dad a few times in a listen buster mode. I also recall the moment Dad proudly awarded her teenage sons with shotguns, and we were like, wow. Well, they disappeared as quickly as they appeared. A Hazel intervention, no doubt. But never a complaint, only a steady, calm, and stoic acceptance of life, a hallmark of one of the greatest generation. And I look at my siblings, her grandkids, great-grandkids, a wonderful family I am proud to be a part of. With at last count, 41, maybe 42 now. Anyway, they all adore her, and that's a living legacy of her powerful example. So, Mom, I pledge to you, we will do our best to have your example shine on, as you have passed on your values of personal integrity, tolerance, loyalty, self-reliance, hard work, and care and respect for others. In closing, Mom, I paraphrase Native American Chief Tecumseh's words, you have crossed the divide like a hero coming home. I am not alone when I say, as I said to you, Mom, in the final weeks of your life, and I proudly proclaim again today in the very church where you and Dad were married 73 years ago, thank you for being my mother.
Hello, I'm Valerie, Hazel's niece. About a year ago, I had a conversation with Hazel on the phone in anticipation of this event, and she asked me to sing this song, What a Wonderful World, which I sang at Teddy's funeral and my dad's in this room. And I told her my voice wasn't exactly what it used to be, and I would be singing it in the key of Armstrong. And she said, "That's good." So, Hazel, this is for you. I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The color of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, is often on the faces of people walking by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They're learning things that I'll never know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
How does one celebrate nearly 94 years of a presence like that of Hazel? There are slices of her life. Growing up in Belmont, idolizing the strength of her mother, the integrity of her father, the glamour and all things about her older sister, Nancy, making friends at Belmont Day School, here in Annisquam, and at the skating club in Cambridge, later on in Winchester, going to the Unitarian Church of Belmont, where when the collection plate was passed, she would very politely take a quarter. Not quite understanding it was supposed to happen the other way around. Her grand love affair with Teddy von Rosenvinge. The family of 4 children that followed, tutoring children with dyslexia, working at Mass General Hospital, where her colleague and boss, Ed Selden, credited her with bringing all of the grace and class to their department. Volunteering in the Winchester Winton Club, training to be a docent at Peabody, Essex, and Cape Ann museums in her retirement. Playing roles, important roles here in the village with the Annisquam Friends and Sewing Circle, the Library Tea, the Interfaith and UU councils at Brooksby, gathering her friends, the Winchester Ladies, the Widows, the Poetry Club, the Band Book Club, and so much more. Each of these are important slices in who she was and came to be, but to celebrate Hazel is to dip in a bit to her head and heart, to bring into this space who Hazel was as a friend, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, aunt, cousin, human being, and mate, rather than what she did. Hazel arrived into this world the same way she departed, clear on getting the job done. Curious about her world, she loved to be in nature, she loved to learn, but most of all, she loved people. No doubt influenced by a family who was never caught up in the social scene per se, but loved to be social. Hazel made friends, but she also kept them. As a 9-year-old, she would travel, arranging to meet dear friends, Angie and Jeno, at the Cambridge Skating Club, even though back then it took at least one bus and a long, long walk alone. Once there, the trio was described to be all bent ankles and laughs. In Annisquam, friends might meet to picnic at Squam Rock. One recalled, "I was thrilled with the invitation by a teenager. I could hardly believe that a popular and beautiful girl, Hazel, wanted to be the friend of me." Many remain lifelong friends. Some are here today. Hazel collected them, not in order to count them, certainly not to find gossip partners. It was never about climbing any social ladder. She gathered women with whom she could navigate life through all of its trials and tribulations. Bent ankles and hot chocolate became boyfriends and double dates, weddings, wartime correspondence, love, loss, illness, and the blessings and challenges of growing families. Remarkably, she was always welcoming new people into her life, even at 93. Just as her physical level of energy seemed to defy age, so too her ability to offer authentic and spirited friendship. While she treasured dining with known... We'll try it for a minute. While she treasured dining with known comrades at Brooksby, she reserved some nights for sitting at a table with unknowns, inviting each to share a bit about their lives. "Everyone is so interesting," she shared before telling us tidbits that she found interesting. No wonder she loved hosting parties. For many years, those of us inside the Von household thought it was the big T, our dad, who just could not help himself and kept inviting more and more people over. Our poor mother, we thought, having to keep up with Dad's appetite for company. Clearly, we were wrong. She never needed a reason to entertain. There were birthday celebrations, Winchester ladies up for lobster rolls on the porch. Oh, and blizzards were a favorite. I'm told that those that lived down in the village lamented their location when the snow fell hard, not because of any shoveling or fear of falling, but because they knew Hazel was up there in Norwood Heights, inviting friends to yet another blizzard party. You're getting kind of heavy. I'm going to invite a parent to come get you, okay? I love you, Peter. Hazel was also known as an asset to anyone hosting a meal. With or without a glass of wine, this raconteur would eagerly engage anyone, well, anyone at least once. Anyone wanting to gossip would be disappointed, but engage in the issues of the day, in history, or whatever fascinating thing that you were doing, and she was right there with you. Chase that with a slice of humor, hers or yours, and a fine time was certain. Her humor was insatiable and quick, her laughter genuine, at times to the point of tears. Just as Hazel was allergic to gossip, she did not deal in negativity either. Rainy days, the young mother would quickly turn into some fun inside activity. Winter storms, as mentioned, a reason for a party. A job loss for her mate invited a pivot to re-enter the workforce. A terminally ill son, an opportunity to tend and get on more trains. Pain required simply that she remain in bed, time to do more reading. Not only did she refuse to reside in negativity, she had a way of inviting others out of it into a new, more positive, forward-thinking perspective. There was never any question that Hazel loved family. She adored her parents. She was a favorite of many niece and nephew and cousin, and beloved by her own brood. As a young mother, she inherited a summer experience here that came to include 3 brothers-in-law, and if you know them, just enough said, except Uncle Bill, spouses, mother and grandmothers-in-law, pets, and expectations of all of the aforementioned. And it wasn't contained to Annisquam. On her honeymoon in New Hampshire at a family property, brother-in-law Bill and 1 or 2 of the Roberts twins also showed up. She in her well-picked negligee. Having survived those years, mostly joyously, she would move on to welcome an even larger brood of her own progeny with 11 grandchildren, 13 great-grands, various pets, and always strays, people, that is, not animals. At some point, she developed a strategy of retreat, accepting that others could tend to all the tasks while she just closed her door, put her feet up on her bed, opened a New Yorker magazine or some fascinating book, and enjoyed the fact that family was in the house on the other side of that door. Like the rest of us, contrary to her mate's opinion, Hazel was perfectly imperfect, a work in progress. It wasn't always easy being her child or grandchild, especially of the female sort. Last month, she said, "It's a miracle you all survived. I figured out that I was a teenager until I was about 35. She meant it. Like all who parent, she did the best she could with what she had. While she may have been terrified of dropping us as babies, she was, and she was not prone to snuggling, she was quietly and fiercely protective behind the scenes. Far from a hands-on parent, she was a cheerleader, though not always in our view. Whether it was rejecting a strong push from doctors to use formula rather than breastfeed, or learning all she could about dyslexia in order to help her son, or deeming it nonsense when a rabid school principal called to say that a daughter's skirt was too short. She was there. We just didn't know. Each of us do credit her with our commitments to kindness, a love of people, the inability to sit still when work is to be done, and moving through the world curiously and not too rapidly, lest we miss something grand. And Hazel offered another gift in how she engaged with her own growing edge. She was, on the one hand, committed to fairness, to honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, to being angry about injustice and racism, and she had remarkable, rapid access to a judgmental streak. Judgment of others and, of course, herself. Part of that informed by her understanding of what was right and what was wrong. Part of that flavored by her formation, a formative early life in a set of societal norms imbued by gender. And part of that was just Hazel. The lesson she offered each of us as she navigated that edge was self-awareness, increasingly so in her later years. She was never one to turn away from critical inquiry, at times her own. She taped up sayings all over her kitchen. Do what you can with what you have where you are, Teddy Roosevelt. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, Howard Thurman. We stand on holy ground between the day that was and the day that will be, James Stern. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity, Simone Weil. Some days are more blustery than others, A.A. Milne's Pooh Bear. Each of those were printed and taped onto little square pieces of construction paper. And then there was one written by her own hand, 4 words: patience, kindness, generosity, compassion. During one of her last conversations, she was asked how these came to be on her cabinets. Her poignant reply, I need reminders. When asked if there was something special they'd like from their grandmother's home, 2 of her grandchildren asked for some of those. Weathered sayings on little pieces of colored construction paper. Hazel harbored a fear that when she left Annisquam, she wouldn't see her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren anymore. She thought that it was all about the beach. She was such a smart woman, but she got that one wrong. It was never about the beach. It was always about her. As much as Hazel loved her children, her siblings, her cousins, her nieces and nephews, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, there was one love that was incomparable by a large measure, and that was her beloved Ted. Now, as you might imagine, Hazel was never lacking for male attention. She enjoyed dating a lot. Not dating a lot, enjoyed it a lot. And had a boyfriend at Cornell. But then this summer romance happened, which tends to happen a lot in the Annisquam. Dinner table talk at the Low House up on Squam Rock Road turned from, have you heard what those von Rosenvinge boys have been up to wedding plans. Young Teddy Vaughn wrote weekly letters to his darling Hazel, sprinkling them with news, humor, sometimes cartoon drawings, and in one, compassion for the poor soul who was about to have a breakup date. He wrote, I can't help asking about your date Saturday night. I hope that he doesn't hate you for it. If you ever had to tell me, I know that I could never hold any hard feelings towards you. His next sentence, I guess I should have left out this paragraph. In another, he blamed his 103-degree fever on having her ripped away from his side as she returned to Cornell after a weekend home. All ended with expressions of missing and love, and in case it wasn't clear enough, another P.S., I love you. It becomes clear in the letters when Sirius turned to forever. Once a day, he writes, my dear mother looks at me and says, as only a mother can say, for God's sake, get married before you drive us all crazy. So you see, my darling, you must save my mother by marrying me. Wed they did here in this church 73 years ago, and to this day, their marriage remains a model of how 2 people sharing love, affection, and core values can weather storms large and small. It would be easy to assume these 2, birthed into affluence, had an easy go of things. But the reality of their lives is while they may have begun life with silver spoons in their mouths, by the time they wed, their spoons were more like stainless steel. Hazel, a writer as well as a voracious reader, once wrote of their lives by way of listing their various abodes, 9, I think. 115 Sims Avenue, Columbus, South Carolina. 1 room with grim green soot-stained walls, a windowless bathroom shared with other tenants and the landlady, and kitchen privileges, she writes, which translated into being allowed to keep one jug of ice water in the refrigerator. To access the water at night, one had to brave entry into the middle of the kitchen to pull the light cord, knowing that an army of enormous water bugs that would then scoot in every direction. Further noting, romantic ideas of living on an Army private's pay met reality. Hazel quickly, all about solutions, found a job working 9 to 6 for $25 a week to help out. Theater dates in Boston, ski weekends, and shopping trips in New England were replaced with sharing the cost of a large watermelon bought off the back of a truck with 2 friends sitting in the park and a lot of seed spitting, with Hazel smiling through it all. They were a team, and she learned how to lead the team. She once shared that she imagined all relationships were like that of her parents. He worked hard at the office, she managed the household, and she told him what to do. She laughed, saying how quickly she learned that she couldn't tell Ted a thing. But ever focused on progress, she learned to plant seeds that might later become his own ideas, to compromise and to grow. And together they faced the joys of parenting, celebrated the milestones and achievements of their children, and together they faced adversity, parenting a child with addiction, addressing their own challenges, large and small, and then their largest trial, navigating the diagnosis of Ted's MS. Life threw them some difficult twists and turns, but with each, Hazel provided the stability, the optimism, the pragmatism, and grace that helped them remain a truly loving team and forge on. He kept her laughing, and through that kept her soul smiling. She kept the team on track throughout, their love unshakable. Her beloved left us in 2008, and she still wrote to him regularly. One of our spouses noted, "It was really clear so quickly how much she loved your dad. Not because she spoke about him all the time, she didn't. But when she did, it was almost as if he were there and it was the present tense. Though he wasn't here physically, they were still a team." Hazel left this world peacefully. Early in the morning of August 11th, with a picture of Ted by her side, enveloped in the love of her children, her friend's present in the form of a small rock with a pink heart on her bedside. The tree frogs and crickets sang her spirit gently into the cool morning air, claiming her once again as their own. Hazel, Graham, Nana, Gigi, Aunt Hazel's sis, Hayes. Mom, you will be missed. We love you, and thank you.
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking, and a gray mist on the sea's face and a gray dawn breaking.
I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying.
I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife, And all I ask is a merry yarn from the laughing fellow rover, in a quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over.
Won't you join me in the spirit of prayer meditation? Spirit of life, God of love, mystery of creation known, invoked, and treasured by so many names. We gather here as a people of diverse beliefs, drawing upon guidance, solace, and inspiration from many sources. We all celebrate a woman who honored the slice of divinity within each human being and whose heart sang when her spirit danced with nature and with family. As we mark the end of her life here on earth, we know that her spirit is more immortal, alive within each of our souls, fueled by the love we shared. Just as her presence shaped us here in life, her influence will forever be felt. In this quiet moment, we prayerfully listen to discern the truth that Hazel's life revealed. That whether we are guided by a divine external force from above, pulled home by the roots of our Mother Earth, or called to goodness by the golden thread of humanity that unites us all, we each know that we are never alone when we tend family and friends. We need only reach out to another to find and offer care. Grant to all those who grieve the wisdom to hear the truth and to know that love is never lost, that a life well lived is never buried out of sight, but lives in loving hearts forever. In the name of the sacred mystery of life, we give thanks for Hazel Marie Lowe von Rosenvinge. Blessed be, and amen. And friends, won't you again rise in body or spirit? We're going to sing a favorite doxology of my mom's. You can find the insert in your order of service, From All That Dwell, and know she listened to it throughout her life. Please be seated. In a moment, I'll offer words of benediction. And shortly after that, you're going to hear the Annisquam Village Church bells toll 93 times. By all the great-grandchildren, I'd only last about 4. One for every year of her life. On behalf of the family, we thank you so much for being here and being in her life. You all made her life joyous and full. We hope you're able to join us at the Annisquam Village Hall afterwards, but we'll also be outside for those, greet those who cannot stay. Our closing words, favorites again of my mom's, who as an aside kept her notes about her last wishes. She used to keep them in the freezer. Before every trip, she would remind us all, and we say, yeah, we know, in the green folder in the freezer. She moved to larger filing system after that. But these are from Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you waken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifted rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.